This is Matthew. Welcome back to King of Hearts, Queen of Sorrows, my Recipher review show where I talk about Mobile Fighter G Gundam. I'm going to be talking about episode 20 this time, which is George Beat the Nightmare. I'm doing my best not to stray into recap territory, but I'm a little worried that I will, so if you catch me doing that, sorry. Anyway, so the first thing I wanted to talk about is all the visual elements of the episode, because there are a lot of good visual elements. They're in the Guyana Highlands, and it makes for incredible shots in my perspective. I keep meaning to look into who directed these episodes, and I actually think I looked into it early on when I was starting King of Hearts, Queen of Sorrows, but it was very difficult to figure out who directed which episodes. I think there was just kind of a listing of all the directors in general. If you're enjoying the video version, you'll be seeing these, but there's a really great shot of Rey where she pulls up on her pink hover motorcycle again, and she sees George and the butler. I can't remember his name at the moment. And then there's a great shot of Rose Gundam kind of looking out at the sunset. I'm assuming George is in there and just thinking about how hard things are for him. And then Domon and Rain are together, and man, the butler comes along again out of the shadows, and he throws something at Domon and he cuts it. It was a really cool moment. And then finally, when George finds them all over at Domon's camp, Schwartz is looking at them from the other side of this little river, and just it's an interesting shot because again we're getting to see all the scale of the Gundams, and I don't know, just the landscape for the Guyana Highlands really does a lot to highlight it. And I kind of feel like they probably had somebody different directing or composing the shots, or maybe doing the not thumbnails. What are they called? Screenshots? No. Pre-visualization. Animatics. It's the 2D version of animatics that don't move. Come on, somebody help me. Storyboarding. Ha. Yes, storyboarding. So, I wonder who the storyboard artist was. My point is, though, that it all looks really good. So then we get this Mirage Gundam piloted by this Jean-Pierre Mirabeau, and well, anyway, I'll get back to Jean-Pierre Mirabeau, but I thought his Gundam looked really cool, and I like the shot they use, like at the very beginning of the episode, where they show his Gundam and George is in front of it in the foreground, scared, and the Gundam's holding Jean-Pierre on its hand, like they do sometimes in the show, and I just think it's a really great visual. All right, wrapping up my discussion of the visuals, there's this real cool shot of them in like George's tent, and they're serving breakfast or wine or whatever, and Rain's there, and it looks really cool. Finally, the butler is at this bar. It looks like a bar, and apparently he ordered coffee. Now this is less visuals and more just kind of, I'm pivoting away from talking about the visuals, talking about the writing. I find it very strange that he's drinking coffee. And I looked at the subtitles, and I'm pretty sure the subtitles I have are accurate to the Japanese, because they'll show me, like, John Bull Gundam is actually, it's John Bull Gundam in the Japanese version, but in the English version, it's whatever Noble Chapman's Gundam is. So, yeah, I'm guessing that in the Japanese he was actually drinking coffee too, but that doesn't really make sense. He doesn't seem hungover or anything though the next day, so maybe he was. I don't know. One other thing, I looked up the Guyana Highlands, and I think it's supposed to be a real location on Earth. I believe it's in South America, so I was pleased to see these South American-looking guys in the bar with him. So pivoting to talking about the writing in the show, really I don't know, I guess it's the main plot. It's the A plot, is that his encounter with the Dark Gundam has reminded him of the awful events that happened with Jean-Pierre at this qualifying match, or qualifying battle, gosh, what do you call it? Like a tournament to see who would represent Neo France. And Jean-Pierre would, he was a dirty fighter. He would basically cause his fellow combatants to be at risk of hurting the crowds. And then he kind of went, well, the emperor said, you know what, you're a dirty fighter, you're dishonorable, I'm giving the victory to Desans. And he went ahead and attacked the crowd, and it was really bad. And George had trouble with that, but it was something that he'd kind of dealt with until encountering the Dark Gundam in such a profound way in Shinjuku rather. So just like Chibity and Sai, and I guess, you know what, um, the Neo Russia fighter didn't really go. Argo didn't really go through a similar arc where he was terrified or haunted by the Dark Gundam, and I think that's kind of interesting, right? Because yeah, he didn't. That's interesting. He's an outlier in that respect for some reason. I wonder if anything's going to come up with him and being afraid of the Dark Gundam or having issues from encountering the Dark Gundam in a future episode. But I think pretty much by the preview I saw of what episode 21 is going to be, like, this is all coming to a close, so that shouldn't happen. Anyway, the way that they handled it with George, that it's reminding him of this awful thing that happened, then you have this other Gundam fighter coming in, so that Domon isn't having to fight against George, but then, you know, Domon steps in and helps him. And beyond that, there's this lesson for George to learn that he has to face the darkness inside of him. I don't really understand why he was going rogue and becoming so. I mean, maybe he was kind of projecting Pierre onto these other people, because he did want to kill Pierre at the end of the episode here, but he didn't. And because this all is function. So the training in the Guyana Highlands arc is really focused on or centered around Domon learning how to control his super mode. To that end, it had him facing off against these challenging combatants and kind of getting back into the swing of battle and not focusing on his rage. And he's being more ponderous, which not that good. He's being more contemplative about what it means. And when George is going rogue, using his anger and hate to be victorious over Maribou, yeah, and he's getting to the point where he's actually going to kill him, Domon steps in. Domon steps in and helps George to regain his composure, and his desire for George to be calm, and the tactic he took, the approach he took of coming up and grabbing him and just trying to stop him, was able to unlock the super mode for him. And it's really neat because George was shocked by the super mode, and Domon was, and it serves the dual purpose there of showing Domon, or giving him an inkling of what the truth is about his super mode, how to tap into it, or the alternate way to tap into it, you know, more reliably than just his anger, because the anger has been flaming out, it's not working anymore. And it gives George a chance to see that, like, Domon's able to attain this state, even though Domon is, you know, usually rash and temperamental, unlike George, who's more methodical and who's full of honor and who pretty much always contains his composure, or retains his composure. And having Maribou be this foil for George, and having George seek to stop him by killing him when there was an alternative route, was really positive. You know, so Maribou had been sentenced to 1,000 years of hard labor, which I don't know if that's something possible in the universe of Mobile Fighter G Gundam or not, or if it was just like a signatory thing, or just a sign, you know, to ward off others. Like, look, this guy did this awful thing. He's getting this extreme punishment. You know, let that be a lesson to you. So, setting aside Neo France's penal system or penal code, it was really an effective way to bring that about, because Domon, I think, was really able to get through to George with telling him that, hey, you, in stopping Maribou, by fighting him in this way, by killing him, you are becoming just like the Dark Gundam, and I think just like Maribou, to George's mind, because I think he perceives the Dark Gundam and Maribou in much the same way as these awful, destructive forces who attack and destroy indiscriminately and without honor. So to wrap up, you know, the structure of the episodes, or this arc, has been presenting Domon with other characters who go through things, and it highlights what's going on with him. And, you know, at the end of the episode, Rain asks him, you know, how did you access the super mode when you were with George trying to stop him? And I like that she's calling it out, because we don't know and he doesn't know. And I like his response even better, which is, I don't know. I still don't know enough about my super mode, but, like, I think I'm getting there. I think I'm starting to understand it, and I need to keep working at it. I really like the humility. I like how focused he is on the fact that he just has to put in the work to get the results. And I don't know, it's just really pleasing to me. So to close out this review, Mobile Fighter G Gundam episode 20 was really good. I really liked it. It's very well structured. All that technical stuff on it, the writing is really good. It had great, fantastic visuals that I loved. I wasn't super excited about the story. There were some things that I thought were cool with it. It was a really well made episode, but it was just okay for me. I'm kind of excited to get moving on to the next bit of the show. So I guess being a little impatient, just like Domon Kashu. So that'll be it for this episode of King of Hearts, Queen of Sorrows. If you want, you can find the playlist for this here on YouTube, or you can look for the RSS feed. There's a link to the episode post and maybe even the RSS in the description under it, so you can get the audio version of it only if you would prefer that. I also have a Kamen Rider podcast, which is live action tokusatsu for those who do not know. It's called Another Rider Cast, and that should be up to the 4th Kamen Rider has been covered by now, and yeah, you can check that out. I also am reviewing comics. I'm actually working on the Age of Republic Marvel Star Wars right now. I'm going to do the 3rd on Wednesday, so you can catch that not long after you hear this. Thank you for your time and attention. I'd love to do more of this. Like, share, and subscribe to cheer me on, or give me feedback to make me stronger and smarter. Visit luminousbeings.blog for more. I link everything I do there, so if you want to comment, that's the place where I'll definitely see it.